Afternoon, VC. All right, got a few rare records that came in the door this week, and I just came from Lunchbox and picked up a couple new releases, so we're gonna share these with everybody. Unfortunately, one of the rare records arrived pretty significantly damaged. Normally, this kind of damage wouldn't bother me with a record, but because of what this is and how it was made and how it was shipped, it sucks. And I'm not putting this one on the Postal Service at all. As you all know, I am the first to throw the USPS under the bus. Not this time. This record stood no chance of getting here in one piece. And I'm not going to call out the name of the shop because that would be rude. They were rude enough so themselves in this whole back and forth. And it looks like I finally got a refund for this record. We'll see if it actually hits the bank on Monday. I think that's when it's supposed to hit the bank. Because with PayPal, money flies right out the door, but when you try to get it back, that's a 3-day process. Yeah, so my friend Akiko came to visit. She's from Tokyo, Japan. She has moved to Kansas City, Missouri, and she has married the drummer Chris from the band The Life and Times. She helped that band, I believe, on their second tour, putting that all together out in Japan. And she's able to work from home, so she's got a nice situation. And I was showing her all my Life and Times records that I have here, which I have all the original pressings. But I didn't get around to trying to get the limited the limited version that came later of the first record and the first EP, The Magician. I had forgotten that they put those out. I had one on my want list. And so she's like, they have these screen printed rare covers for these records that were only sold at shows. And I didn't know that. And I didn't know how truly how limited they were until she started telling me this. And she says that she said that Chris has copies, but I don't know if I think they're Chris's copies and not hers. But she sent me pictures of them when she got back to Kansas City. And of course I went back to my Discogs. I try to stay off Discogs entirely these days. I do have a cart now though with just a couple titles that I'd like to get this year. Some of them are still pipe dreams. But this record is a special one. So I found only one for sale. There's none on eBay. Only the one on Discogs, and then The Magician, there's none anywhere. They only made 50 copies of that with the special screen printed cover. It's alternate artwork altogether on The Magician. This one's similar artwork, but it's different. It's different. But it's a very thin fold over silk screen cover. So it's very delicate, very fragile. The listing was for $200, which I thought was a fair price. I mean, honestly, this rare of a record, and as high as the original pressing itself goes, it could be a $250 to $300 record. So $200 to me was a good price. They did have a buy it now or best offer feature. So, and this is for Suburban Hymns, for the Life and Times. So I sent an offer for like 160, I don't know, 167.77. something like that. Kind of a low ball. And they get back to me maybe in 2 days. Might have been 3 days. It took a while to respond. They have 5 days to respond to an offer. It took 2 or 3 days, which is annoying in itself. But they kind of do a lot of volume. So I was like, okay, this is, they came back with best I can do is 180. And I said, sure. And looking at the feedback, it looked like they, for the most part, know what they're doing. Lots of feedback and a pretty damn hefty amount of positives. And then a big write-up on how they, whatever. Anyway. So the records get shipped. It takes only a couple days for them to ship it, so that's not too bad. Again, thin, delicate screen printed cover. So I'm monitoring the tracking, and the day comes where it arrives, delivered on porch. I'm at work, so I get off work, driving home. I pull into the driveway, and I see the box on the porch. And my heart went into my stomach, because this is the box. It's one of these. Cheap-ass, plain white mailer. I knew without even picking it up off the porch that it was going to be destroyed. Sure enough, I get in the house. Look at the corners. Well, it's going to be hard to see on the video. There's that one. Maybe you can't see it. And there's that one. These things, you breathe near these, and they crater. Okay? This record couldn't have made it across the fucking street from the record store, let alone all the way here, halfway across the country in one fucking piece, in one of them mailers. It's just, it's very, very rare when I get a record in one of these mailers that it hasn't been mangled. You're selling $200 records. You gotta up your game. You gotta use. There's so many options for mailers now with records. Anything, one level up would have been fine. Any kind of whiplash mailer, anything with a sturdier cardboard. And then, then you need to at least use an inner piece of cardboard that's made for an actual record box, or the box you're using, so that it actually covers the entirety of the record and protects the corners. They decided they were going to just put some filler that they cut with scissors from something a homeless man would have laid on in the fucking street. Unprofessional. And so because these don't fit close enough, the top of the record was exposed and the bottom was exposed to the corners. So when the corners got bashed by the Postal Service, because these boxes are flimsy as fuck, you know what happened. Now, this record still presents pretty well because of how the artwork is on the front. But trust me, it's because I've now spent time, now that I actually decided to keep it, not send it all the way back and get a full refund, which I could have done. I got a decent amount off, so I decided to keep it. And that's the Life and Times Suburban Hymns with the rare art cover. Again, looks like nothing's wrong and it presents really well. There's that corner. It was crumpled all the way over itself. That corner, you can't tell. It's bent all the way over. It was bent all the way over itself. Because this is like razor thin. And then the top, I don't know if you can see this. It's creased all the way across the top. All the way across. And bent over. It was bent over. I've tried to flatten it as best I can. It's hard to tell. You ain't gonna be able to tell from this video, but it's fucked up because this was listed as near mint, and there was a lot of back and forth. Yeah, it was. I sent all the pictures I could to the seller, and he's like, "Yeah, we dropped the ball on this one," because they had it. It was a mint copy, no damage. The record itself is fine, which is what's important on the music and all that, but I have this record already, and it's the same. The thing is, it's not a special pressing or anything. It's the original first press. It's the last 77 copies they had that they hadn't sold yet, and they had these covers specially made, these art covers. So, I'm not fully out of record or anything like that. It's here, and it's very rare, and I didn't want to send that back to the shop because now they're basically telling me with the amount of discount I got that it's a $100 record. I guess somebody would be okay buying that for $100 with all that damage. I wouldn't sell it for that much. I would have tried to sell it for $50, maybe $60, not $100. And somebody, and I guarantee they would overgrade it on relist, and somebody else would get it in the mail in one of these shitters and be fucking sorely disappointed like myself. So I had to take one for the record collecting team, so to speak, and keep the record. And this is all trivial shit compared to what's going on in the world. Trust me, I understand that. But as a record collector of rare records, you buy something that's near mint for $200, because it was $200 after tax and fucking shipping, you expect to receive the item exactly how it's listed. Now, this was a whole ordeal. It took like 2 weeks to fucking sort all this out. I called the shop, and unfortunately there was a very nice lady on the phone that I just destroyed. I destroyed her. Because there was no manager there for me to speak to or whatever, so she got the full story. I had honestly planned to give this to Akiko, because, like I said, I believe Chris is the one that's got a copy, and she should have her own copy. But I'm gonna find a better copy, an actual near mint copy to do that with, and not one that's creased all the way across and bent over itself and smashed in the corners. Again, very trivial. She probably wouldn't care about the damage. I care, because I paid $200 for a near mint record, wanted to get it fucking near mint. So I totally gave the girl the full story. I broke it down. You broke the 3 rules of how you fucking ship a record. 1, you use a fucking sturdy mailer. 2, an actual inner packaging that's made to fit said mailer. 3, you ship the record outside of the sleeve. Again, this is a very thin, delicate sleeve, art piece, rare. The record was in there. It wasn't outside the sleeve. Again, and that the weight of the record pushed against those corners, and then when the corners got bumped by the Postal Service, that just cratered the cover. I think that's enough of that story. 14 fucking minutes of it. Fucking clown shoes. Well, no, I will tell you what they sent me, because I showed the guys the email. The girl obviously spoke to someone there and let them know what I told her. And I apologized to her on the phone. I was like, I'm not trying to be a Karen or an asshole or any of this kind of stuff. But goddamn. You just don't. I don't know how you're going to be able to stay in business shipping records like this. Rare records, $200 records. In the email to me, they started out saying, we dropped the ball on this. And then went into this whole barrage of this employee that during the holidays they had this issue with, that they have a policy that if it's a $50 record, it gets a certain type of mailer. If it's a $100 mailer, it gets a double mailer, whatever. And that this has been a big deal for them, and they've fired the employee. Now, it looks like to me the Discogs part of their business is separate than the actual shop. So I don't know what to believe. That seems like a lot to tell a customer that's just looking to get some money back on a record that you've shipped like a turd. And I don't need to know that. They didn't need to tell me that. So now I feel like shit that a fucking, well, I don't know. Somebody got fucking fired for this, is the story that I'm being told. Like, Brandon ain't buying it. Some of the guys in the chat that I'm in on the Instagram ain't fucking buying it. It seems like I don't know. Dom thinks it's so absurd for them to have told me all this that it must be true. I don't know. This day and age, who the fuck knows? Jesus Christ. Any fucking way. Let's move on to some other records. God, fuck me. Alex, I know I always want to say Motor 247, but Diamond Marimba, same group of people I'm talking about, Dom and Brandon and I and Alex, sent a link. Well, who's all on there? Chris and Tice are on there too. Sent a link to this sale of this record, and I'm all for any version of this record, and that's Albert Ayler bells. And this is the one that just came, and it's a very rare version. I have a 1965 original. As you know, I collect the ESP disc label, and this is one of the most iconic records of the label, and really awesome on how they did the screen. Let's talk about screen printed, or silk screened on this, I think. Records, it's a one-sider. So this is the purple one with no label. Very, very great version that I've always been happy with. And there's a lot of different colors. There's like clear with red and all kinds of different colors. And with the cover too, as that one's white on black, and this is yellow on black. This is not a 1965, this is a 1966 version with a normal label and no silk screened back. It has a plain back. So very, very unique, and it's a mono. That's the other thing. So even though it says stereo on, I think on the label, I believe this is a mono. Yeah, ESP disc, very weird label at times with stuff like that, but that's that one. And it was a really good price, and I'm very pleased with this seller, unlike the other. And this was off of Instagram. It was not through Discogs. Seems, I don't know. It's just, you instantly are speaking to the seller on Instagram. Unlike Discogs, where you have to wait around days at a time for anything to take place. I mean, it was a fucking act of Congress. Like trying to pass the budget in Congress, which, what is now, a year and a half in, whatever they are on this shit, just to get the refund. I mean, I had to tell them 3 times, yes, put the fucking money in the bank. Got another rare record. This one from a shop in Colorado. And this is one that escaped me locally. It was just on the wall, not too far back. At what fucking store? Hardy Boys. And I passed on it. They wanted $150. and I didn't feel like spending that on one record that day. And then I was like, well, crap, I should have got it. But I've been looking for this record, and this is one that I think John Digital Gramophone has the same version. And I know Steve Carlson actually just got the same version of this record. I think he might have got it from his old local shop in Michigan, but I can't remember. No, maybe he got it somewhere else. Anyway, Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables, with the pulled orange cover that the band did not like. With the different photo in the back. And this comes fully intact poster. There's your label. Yeah, the fully intact posters in tow. I won't open it all up. Huge one off the list. One of the best punk records ever made, in my opinion. One of the first. I don't want to say one of the first. They really sped things up on this. It's killer. 1981 IRS. All right, so that's the rare stuff, and sorry to carry on about all this BS. Anyway, was made aware that this was coming out and checked to see if Lunchbox had it, because it's sold out through Bandcamp. That is the new James Brandon Lewis Trio album, Apple Cores. There's your front cover with the artwork. Kind of reminds me of a Milford Graves artwork. I have not listened to this. This just came in the door, but it's a release this year. So I think this is the first jazz record of 2025 that I've gotten that's been released this year. Great saxophone player, phenomenal. Some of his playing harkens to Coltrane for sure. But he's definitely got his own thing. He's constantly doing something with different groups. He's now with a couple of the guys from Fugazi and doing that whole thing with the Aesthetics. So we'll get into that later today. And then the band Fax from Chicago has a new record, Wish Defense. So I picked that up. And this was cheap. This was like $17. So I couldn't pass on it. It's white vinyl. James Brandon Lewis is just regular black vinyl. Nothing fancy to see there. It's got a nice inner sleeve. The only thing that concerns me about this record, because I've only heard one song and it's okay. This is on white vinyl. It's a nice pressing. I don't know how limited these are, but it was cheap enough, so I grabbed it. The female bass player that was on the record from a couple years ago, or maybe it was only a year ago, I can't remember. She's no longer in the band, and she was the highlight of this band for me. Really dug the deep tone in how she jammed on the bass. So there's a lot to live up to there, from as far as I'm concerned, with whoever's taken over on bass. And this is avant rock or post rock. I don't know what you want to call it. Really smart, cool lyrics. I dig the guitars. Guitar. The lead singer plays guitar. Good drummer, really good drummer. So it's just a trio. Wish Defense, Fax from Chicago. It's a few good bands from Chicago now that are current, like Meat Wave. What a name for a band. They're fucking badass. And then Horse Girl, which might have a new record coming out. Young, all-female band. Really young. Just out of high school, I'd say. Probably freshman college, or maybe this year we'll go into sophomore college type age. Phenomenal band. Yeah, they have a Sonic Youth type vibe for me, but they're still their own thing. A lot of good Chicago stuff going on, as there always has been. But yeah, good to see it's still thriving. All right, dropped enough F-bombs. Have a good one. Peace.